Now, many countries are coming out of lockdown now. So China, Korea, Taiwan, a few others have already done that. But now in Europe, Germany and Austria, a few other countries are also coming out of lockdown. So some people are asking me, does this mean that the German stock market or the Chinese or the South Korean stock market will do better than, say, the US or the UK stock market? I think it's unlikely, but it's not guaranteed. Now, why is that? Now, if you look at what's happened in the last few months, there's been a flight towards safety. In other words, the US stock markets, even though the US has been hammered by the virus more than most countries, I think it has more deaths now than any other country, the US stock market has actually recovered to a far larger extent than many other stock markets, despite the fact the US stock markets have also outperformed in the last 10 years. So in other words, the US stock markets were doing better last year, but even this year, right, stock markets in the US have actually recovered far better than, say, some of the other stock markets. So for example, the Dow Jones, the record high was 29,000. Now we're at about 24,000 when I made this video. So we're only about, 18-19% or so below where it was, whereas some markets are still down by 25% or more. And of course, that means US markets are basically where they were about 2 years ago. So the interesting thing is, when it comes to US dollar, US treasuries, and when it comes to US stock markets, a lot of people are thinking to themselves, well, hold on, in uncertain times, putting our money in the US stock market is actually a safe haven, because a lot of these companies, whereas Amazon, Apple, or whatever, they're global. It's not America only, right? They sell all around the world. And for that matter, there's a lot of tech companies on the US stock market, and they are making more money than ever. Amazon, Netflix, for obvious reasons, they're making more money than ever. So don't assume that the countries that have a better situation with the virus are automatically going to outperform when it comes to stock markets, because let's face it, whatever happens to the US economy, that's not going to affect Netflix that much. They sell around the world. Same with Amazon, right? I think only about 20 to 50% of their revenue comes from the United States. And for that matter, that might be a relatively high amount. But remember, if more people are staying at home, some of the big boys might actually get stronger. So don't try to time markets based on how they're coming out of the crisis. For example, looking at the news and then saying, I should buy this ETF because this country's coming out better. You shouldn't assume that. Just look at the Chinese stock market. It's been down now for years. It's been one of the worst performing stock markets. It hasn't been hammered this year, but overall it's been very, very weak. So I would keep to a well-balanced portfolio and don't try to trade based on the news.